Bryce, don't sit down.
I bet you log back in.
Been a lot of them last half hour. There's a bunch of them. Yeah, it's in 5 o'clock too.
That's gonna be a really good one this month, this time too.
I'm gonna be on the beach in Mexico.
Are you really?
Have a nice one.
Thanks,
We went
Mom.
with Riley's, Shenandoah.
Yep.
They were like, how bad can it be? Oh, yeah, I think he's really bad.
Board members, it's time to start the meeting. Our first order is our Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair, could you read our mission statement?
The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any additions? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Tiger Spotlight.
We want to recognize our bus company, Southwest Coaches, this evening. It is Bus Driver Appreciation Week. So this week we recognize bus drivers and all the work that they do. Bus drivers have a big job and are essential to Marshall Public Schools. We place much responsibility in our drivers, and they complete the task of delivering our students safely and with care each and every day. Southwest Coaches has been a great partner for 66 years, and we continue to work together to provide this important service for our MPS students. Thank you to our transportation partners. We appreciate you. And Jim and Tom High are both here today, and we'd like to have them come up, and we'll recognize them with our Spotlight Award. So Jim and Tom.
Thank you. How far behind it though?
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you for all
guys.
you do.
Thank you.
We are also recognizing School Board Recognition Week. And we talked about what we're going to say, what we're going to do with that. And actually, MSBA sent out a video we'd like to share as part of the meeting this evening because they really summed up what board members do and our appreciation for everything. And I think Kirk said it pretty well. So we're going to show that video as our appreciation for our school board. Maybe. That's actually the school board. There it is.
Hello, I'm Kirk Schneiderman, Executive Director for the Minnesota School Boards Association. In my 22 years at the Minnesota School Boards Association, I can't think of a more challenging time that school board members have lived through. This year, more than any year, board leadership is important. It seems long past due to thank the community members who work together on their school board to help all the children in your community succeed. This week is Minnesota School Board Recognition Week. The 332 school boards in Minnesota help educate 850,000 plus students in Minnesota. They employ more than 70,000 people. They are parents, just like you, who want to help all the children in the school district be successful in life. School issues today are much more than the 3 Bs: buses, ball games, and budgets. The goal of student achievement for all is the center of high-performing board work. The board hires its superintendent for day-to-day work, but the board is charged with evaluating outcomes at the district, establishing expectations and goals in its strategic plan, and adopting policies, budgets, and contracts to help the district function and abide by the law. The past 2 years have been hard on students, teachers, district staff, and school board members. Local decision on masking, vaccinations, and other issues have tended to divide some communities. But no matter how those local decisions are made, school board members help make those decisions on how to provide the best education to the students in the safest manner possible. High-functioning boards operate as a team, along with their superintendent, to do the best job they can for the students in our state. That means walking a fine line with budgeting money, hiring the right people, and making sure every student has what is needed to soar, academically and as a whole. Board members also advocate for their students by talking to their legislators about the needs for the school district and how politicians from both sides can work together for a stronger, educated Minnesota. School boards are one of the last public entities that are elected in a nonpartisan way. Helping our children to be successful is not a GOP or DFL only goal. Setting high expectations and helping our children be successful should be the goal of all Minnesota's citizens, regardless of their political stripes. Your board members are communicators, decision makers, researchers, lobbyists, and simply your next door neighbor who are trying their hardest to make their schools and their students the best and make a difference in the lives of students. So this week, School Board Recognition Week, I want to say how I appreciate all of the people who are serving and who have served as public school board members. And I encourage you to send a thank you or an encouraging message to your own school board members for their work. In tough times, they have risen to the occasion. Thank you.
Like I say, we thought he covered it well, so thank you, school board, for everything that you do. I know we tried to surprise you guys the other morning with breakfast, and we caught more than half of you on a morning that it just wasn't very convenient. So we won't try and surprise you next time.
But thank you.
Thanks for the effort.
Yeah.
So, we can give them a hand.
Moving on to the public forum, now it's time for the public to approach the board. Is there anybody that'd like to come up forward? Now's your time. Moving on to the presentation, middle school schedule. Welcome.
We have Ms. Walter Matson and Mr. Bowe coming up, going to share. We've been talking about some changes to this middle school schedule. These guys have some fun things to share with you guys that we're looking at.
So I'm Mr. Bull. This is Miss Walter Matson. Yeah. So we are looking to simplify our schedule with having advisory and lunch back to back and having a 68-minute block classes with 34 minutes in advisory time and 34 minutes for lunchtime.
All right, we have an example then for the 5th and 6th grade. 5th and 6th grade schedules are very similar. So fifth and sixth grade will have 1/4 of media art techs. And what that will include is things such as media broadcasting, it could be a STEM project, sound recording, video animation, things like that. Phy Ed and Health, they will have 1 semester. And music will be 1/4. Band and orchestra, of course, if they choose that, will be for the year. And then their core classes. And we're adding guided learning. So what guided learning is a time where they can work specifically with a teacher that is available for further help. It could be intervention time. It could be time for our EL and our SPED students as well to get additional help. And then they also will have advisory time. So this is the fun additions that we're going to add, some pathways classes. I'm pretty passionate about getting pathways into the middle school. So I'll start at the bottom just because those are the similarities, and then I'll talk about the differences. So they have guided learning, which I talked about already, the core classes, band, music, Phy Ed. This time, 7th and 8th grade will have visual arts, which is what we think of as the regular arts instead of the media tech arts. We are going to add potentially FACS and ag for our 7th graders for 1 semester. So we currently have that posted. I think it's very important for our FACS class to expose our students to some life skills. Health, nutrition, the cooking basics, and safety with cooking and sewing. With ag, just so that they can dabble in a lot of different areas to help them make a better decision on some advanced classes that they would potentially take at the high school. It's kind of a feeder program for the new Marshall, I want to say CTE Center all the time.
Career and Technical Art Institute.
Yes, for that. So with those 2 positions, they would be collaborating with the high school teachers as well so that we're not teaching the same thing, but we can divvy it out so that they can cover some of those topics here instead so that they can then be informed on what they would like to take for classes as electives at the high school. Some of those areas in ag could be horticulture, animal science, natural resources, food science, anything like that. The other thing, Spanish will be a semester for 8th graders. And the area that I'm really excited about is the PACE Lab. And I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. A few of us went to visit that in Fairmont. It is like a mini lab of pathways for the students. So there are 5 main areas. And the areas are, like one of them is processing and production, where they're working on things like bolts and pipes and putting those together in assembly, form, peg design. All of these things have lots of different components in each of the 5 main pathways. And then of those main ones, there's 6 difficulty levels. So they start at the simplest, of course, and then work on those skills as it moves on. Another one is construction and industrial. They're working on electrical, so they actually learn to hook up a lamp. Then they can easily see if it's working or not. They have metal projects and wood projects, and they work on shop measurements as well. So it's got a lot of math in there. But for instance, for the construction industrial, say MP for metal projects, they'll have MP1, MP2, MP3, all the way through 6. And the whole idea of the PACE Lab is for every student to dabble in all of the 5 pathways. Even though they don't want to, maybe, we want them to expose them to that so that they can make a well-informed decision for them to be successful in choosing their classes. Another one is computer technology, where they do things such as data entry, IT, PowerPoint, word processing, digital photos. Business and marketing, where they do typing, alphabetizing, like do the 10-key calculator, cash register, and the last one is customer service. So like, for instance, housekeeping and custodial, so they actually are working on getting a bed there, like, so they learn how to make a bed, like if they're going to work at a hotel. Another thing was they had fake burgers there so that they learn how to wrap them, like at McDonald's. They have things that they work on, some of the food items, and also sewing as well. So this not only is a good pathways for our middle school students, but also it could work really well with life skills for some of our special education students as well as our EL population as well.
This year long, Paula?
This is a semester for the eighth graders, yep, so that we can get them all in and dabble in.
Experience each of those areas in that semester? Who's your teacher for that?
That's yet to be determined.
Is there one instructor for all those, or will it
Yeah,
be?
it's self-sufficient. So what it is, it's the materials, and it's very laid out, and you teach them how to do it, and so it's all self-paced. So some of the kids work through it pretty quickly. And we hope they get through most of those in a semester. Some are not going to get through them. But an example that they gave when we went to visit is there was this guy, male student, that wanted to do this activity, and he found out that he had to do this sewing activity, and he didn't want to. Well, he was using the sewing machine, ended up liking it, and now today he actually is working for one of the marinas in Okoboji, and he's repairing the tarps and the canopies for the lifts, and he's very successful. He's doing well with that. And he came back to the instructor and shared, I would have never thought that I wanted to do sewing. So that's kind of the idea with this, is just to have the exposure in all of those areas. They don't necessarily know unless they try it, if they like it or not. So that's our trying to get pathways and introduction into the middle school for next year. Other questions that you guys have?
I think it's exciting how it's going to dovetail.
It's perfect timing to help that out. And the collaboration, I think, will be great between the middle school and the high school. So we'll do some tweaking with that as we go. We also are applying for a couple grants as well to help fund that.
Excellent, very exciting.
Great additions.
It was fun the day that we sent these three people to the Pays Lab. I had 3 calls and texts before that day was over telling me how amazing this was and how much we need it. I think they were buttering me up for how much it's going to cost.
It was really neat. I mean, it's amazing. And, not all of our students are going to go to a four-year college. So when you have processing and production and they're learning how to do the bolt assembly and such, it's a great experience for the kids.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our consent agenda. Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions?
I just have a comment. I just want to thank Arnold Motor Supply for their donation for and any other business that is helping us get our new CTE program off the ground. So we just appreciate everything that all the businesses are doing to help us get that going. I think it's pretty exciting around Marshall hearing about it. So,
I think it'd be great if we could list all those who are giving,
yep.
supporting like that somewhere down the line.
We're working on some way to communicate that and keep track of that as this
That would be
project is
good.
a lot of donations and such are coming in. So.
Super.
Very good. Vote, please. It is approved. Financials. Motion to discuss. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Open for discussion.
Just a couple of comments. Food service looks low. We hadn't received the bill for February yet, so March will look doubled up. Just want to go through that. They didn't give us a discount or anything for February. Community services is a little higher. That's our collaboration payment with Worthington for ABE. And then debt service, the $3.3 million. January, we make our principal and interest payments on our debt service.
Any questions? Call a vote. Is approved. Anything else on financials?
No, sir.
Board forum, board members, anybody have anything they'd like to bring up? Moving on to our administrator's report.
All right. We'll talk about mine first, and I just want to address some of the threats and stuff we talked about at the high school, middle school. So events like the recent threats at the high school, middle school are unfortunate and raise anxiety among students, staff, and community members. We are fortunate to have a supportive relationship with our local police department, where we work closely together to respond to the vandalism and determine if there was a credible threat to consider. Our community was also supportive in sharing information they had to help us in our response measures. Social media is often an obstacle in these cases, as misinformation spreads quicker than our coordinated communication can be sent out. In any such situation, we will continue to inform students, staff, and community as we have information to share. We ask that stakeholders continue to rely on our communications for the truth of what's going on and come to us with questions that they have. I would also like in my report just to mention a thank you to the board. I recently got back from the National Superintendents Association Conference that was held in Nashville, Tennessee. So I appreciate the ability to attend that. It was a really good experience networking with school leaders from across the country and hearing about current trends in education. So some good things we'll bring back and look to implement going forward in Marshall as well. Early childhood, Tiffany talks in hers about February being I Love to Read month. It certainly looks a little bit different this year than the past because we're not doing the classroom readers and such. But she does share that students enjoyed bookmarks from the library, and each classroom is reading fun books. At the end of the month, they're going to have I Love to Read dress-up days as part of their celebration. Tiffany also shares in her report this month that registration is underway for next year. 3- and 4-year-old preschool offerings will be the same as they are in this current year. We have 2 classrooms that have bilingual staff, and we offer 6 3-year-old preschool classes and 9 4-year-old preschool classes. So that is going well. Parkside, Darcy shares that ESL teachers, she talks primarily about the ESL program in her building. They're busy scheduling and beginning access testing. That's the annual testing for our EL students. The assessment provides important information regarding students' attainment of English language development standards, and while the results of this assessment are used for accountability at the state level, our teachers also use, and EL teachers and classroom teachers gain valuable information that help guide services and supports for those students within our schools. It tells us good assessment of where students are at and what services they might need. Darcy also shares that kindergarten registration is officially open. We're hosting our annual open house in person on March 3rd. Which when Tricia talked about that earlier today, I said, yeah, that's a long ways away. She said, actually, Jeremy, that's next week. So next week on the 3rd from 4:30 to 6:30 is our kindergarten roundup at Parkside. So we're excited to be hosting that. Luckily, Darcy's aware it's next week, and it was just me that was off. Southview, Pete shares in his report that Southview recently celebrated a few appreciation days as well. So Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, Paraprofessional Week, and Counselor Appreciation Week all recently took place. So he shared some pictures and such. Kids made cards to recognize those people within their building. And just a big thank you to all those people who help meet the needs of our kids, of course, in all buildings. A few buildings also talked about the Olympics. Our teachers certainly latched onto that and did some fun projects with that. So Pete talked specifically about in PE at Southview. They did the Winter Olympics unit. They came up with events where students were able to take part and replicate some Winter Olympic events. They had opening ceremonies on February 4th, and students enjoyed working together to try and compete against other classes. I know I was over there the other day, and they were doing bobsledding down the hallway, so it was pretty cool stuff taking place over there. Kids had a lot of fun with that. Middle school, Paula shared congratulations to Xochitl Rodriguez Chavez and Roman Gall for their outstanding performance at the regional spelling bee on past Tuesday. Sochi earned 4th place honors and qualified to compete at the multi-region state spelling bee, so great job to her. Also says congratulations to the math team. They got 1st place in the Math Counts competition that qualified them for the state Math Counts. Lincoln DeGroot received 3rd place overall, and Xavier Raby received 1st place overall. So congratulations to those students at the middle school. High school, Brian talked about semester 1 academic results. They look a lot better than they did a year ago at the same time. Percentage of students passing all classes is approaching levels close to where they were before the pandemic. So academic results are looking good. I know a lot of the pieces where he sees tied to our bar program we're doing, we're seeing some really good success with that too. Students performing very well. He also shares in his report from yesterday, teaching staff from Maytech and high school where they had their staff work day. Maytech and high school teachers were able to participate in tours at 6 different community businesses as part of their day. Businesses that were chosen align with the 6 different career clusters, and they were arranged by Renee Jenigas, who is our work-learn coordinator. The purpose of those visits was to help teachers understand various career opportunities available for students as we gear up for registration process, to broaden perspectives as educators and promote opportunities that exist for students in Southwest Minnesota. So I have heard nothing but positive feedback about those business tours. There were 6 different places they went. I believe the radio station was one of them that they came through.
Yep.
So that went really well.
Yeah, they were there yesterday. It was actually a lot of fun to kind of talk with our educators about just, you know, the media and kind of what we do in the future and the direction that I think it's going, or we think it's going. So it was very fun.
Yeah, it's great. And these businesses that, you know, our teachers drive by and are aware of in town, but to learn some of the inner workings and some feedback from people there. So really, really good opportunity. We're hoping to be able to do more of that type of thing in the future. That's part of the purpose of having that work-learn coordinator, to provide things like that for our staff as well. Maytech, Amanda shares that on January 17th, they celebrated Martin Luther King Day. Students learned about Martin Luther King Jr. and his fight for equality and justice. A variety of activities took place throughout the building that she talks about in her report. She also highlights the CNA program, the Certified Nursing Assistant program offered at Maytech in partnership with Minnesota West. We're offering two sessions this quarter with a morning and an afternoon class. We have a total of 23 students currently enrolled in the program this quarter. First semester finished with 11 students successfully completing the course, so a lot more going the second semester. Excited about the opportunity to continue and support medical fields and the demands for the employees. So that's been a good program throughout the years and continues to be going strong. Activities, Rick has a number of things that were exciting in his. So the winter activities update, gymnastics recently hosted the Section 3A meet at the high school on Saturday, February 12th. That's the first time in 7 years that we were able to host that prestigious event. Marshall 10th grader Kameen McFarquhar qualified for the state meet and will compete on February 19th, so that has happened now. Girls hockey was eliminated from the section tournament last week. Other winter sports begin section play in the coming weeks. He also shared that the partnership with SMSU continues as the Tiger Wrestling team recently competed against Tracy Milroy Ballatin in the SMSU gym alongside SMSU wrestlers. I know that was a fun event for our students to participate in as well. Last fall, Rick also shares that Activities Department experimented with Ticket Spicket. It was an online ticketing app for sporting events. We found that particular vendor has been slow processing, not so intuitive. We didn't get great feedback. It didn't work as well as we were hoping. So we will not be continuing with that ticketing vendor, but we are looking for a new vendor for our ticketing apps. We'll continue to offer some online ticketing, but going through a different vendor for next year. So I wanted to share that with people, and thank you for being patient with us as we're finding the right way to do that. He also shares that the Marshall High School Athletic Hall of Fame banquet is coming up. There will be 6 new members inducted to the Hall of Fame this year. Bo Bofferding, Nicole Peterson Porath, Macy Mickelson, Mike Fensky, Tyler Gimmestead, and Donnie Wickman will be inducted this year. The banquet is Saturday, April 23rd at the Marshall Golf Club. Tickets can be purchased by visiting or calling the high school office, so I encourage people to participate in that event. It's always a nice event. Special Ed Jackie this month talks about early childhood special education programs. So each month she's highlighting one particular area within within her department. So ECSC has 5.75 FTE special ed teachers and 7 paraprofessionals, meeting the needs of about 70 students. This program has 2 different areas to it. One serves students ages birth to 2, and the other 2 teachers serve approximately 30 students. Within that part, the services occur in the home or daycare settings with caregivers. Second piece of that program serves 3 to 5-year-old students in the school setting. There are 3.75 teachers within that program and 7 paraprofessionals serving about 40 students. She also shares it's been a great transition this year with all early childhood being in one space at Parkside. Having that entire team in one building has really made teaming, coaching, mentoring, and communication easier. So it's been very successful there. Additionally, the move has created avenues for the team with the kindergarten and first grade special ed teachers. So they can partner and work together, building good foundations for kids going forward there. They're now one PLC group that's created opportunity to develop a better flow for SPED services for students from birth all the way through first grade. In Mary Kay's report this month, she shared the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee is meeting monthly. Their most recent meeting took place at a downtown location at the Southwest Minnesota Arts Council, where they could observe American Indian artwork accomplished by artist John Sterner. The community hopes to confirm their spring event date in the near future in honor of American Indian Education Month, which is in May. They're planning for that event at this time and look for more information coming soon with that. She also shares in her report that teachers are finding creative ways to engage students in the after-school hours program and Project Success. Last month, Parkside took part in the painting party where they had easels, paintbrushes, canvases, and more. She had some pictures in her report. It looks like they had a lot of fun. Students had to follow directions to draw a love bug and then paint it accordingly. A painting party is taking place at Southview today. These activities motivate and engage students in the time after school, so some fun projects taking place within that program. In Beth's report, Director of Teaching and Learning, she's shared that last month our CEO program, that's a program that aligns with our CTE programming, but it's a separate a line that goes along those lines. We received a grant of $10,000 from the Southwest Initiative Foundation to go toward the implementation of that program. Very appreciative of that grant from the foundation, as well as investors have invested. We've had a really great response to that program. She also shares that on Saturday the 12th, we hosted a family engagement event for multilingual families that included a painting project for kids, as well as a roundtable discussion for parents. We had some school nurses, Deb Herman and Gina Webb. They shared information with families regarding COVID protocols and procedures, and Amanda Beckler from Community Services attended, and she shared information about services that they provide, giving parents input on the Marshall Comprehensive Plan and time to hear about community services pieces. Good morning for everyone who's involved, and they have a couple additional events coming up they're looking forward to as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Jeremy. Last week we had our second safety IAQ committee meeting for the school year. We discussed our OSHA mock inspection that we work with the SWWC on. That actually took place yesterday. Went over our workman's comp numbers. We'd like to have 0 injuries, but it was actually a good year. Last year, calendar year, we had 17 injuries, down from 27 in 2020. And then we also went over and discussed our crossing guards, how we're trying to make things more visible. We've added lighted vests and lighted stop signs for each crossing guard. A couple weeks ago, we had summer school programming discussion with all the summer school coordinators, along with Jill, and just discussed the dates and times for the summer school. Decided to have summer school at the high school in Parkside, with the LTFM projects being done at the middle school, and us wrapping up some of our punch list items at Southview. So we'll also be holding our summer food service program at the high school in Parkside this summer. We'll send out advertisements on that. I included a picture, just a rough drawing that the gymnastics coaches shared with us of how the old pool area might look like with their equipment, just so you guys can kind of see that. We've got the lights up, the HVAC is hung. We're waiting for some HVAC equipment that will hopefully be in on the end of March, which they'll hook up. Drywall started going up yesterday, and we have painting scheduled, so once the drywall is done. And then just last week, we met with Rick, the gymnastics coaches, and Paula, just to look at the progress in that area. And just so to kind of reiterate, it's going to be a gymnastics area, but we'll also work with the middle school during the day to have it as a multi-purpose area. So just an area for them to expand and use. And then I also included some information. We are looking into some solar panel project. The state has some grant opportunities out there and we applied for each location. We've received the authorization to go ahead and do the full application. We're working with Solar Connection. Brock, who actually has come down, looked at the sites. We've had discussion, and if we get the grants from the full application, we'll do a presentation to the board to kind of show what that is. Basically, the panels would not take up any green space that we use. It'd be, unoccupied green space that we have. Laid out some of the costs, just preliminary. The grants would cover 85% of the costs, so our out-of-pocket roughly would be around $16,000. It's estimated that we'd save a little over $6,000 a year at each location. So after 3 years, the project would pay for itself, and after 30 years, we could potentially save over $241,000. Working with MMU on it, Mark Anthony, very welcoming on the project, so Brock has been in touch with him, and so we'll just wait to see how our full application turns out. we'll hopefully be notified before the end of May. And then we'll, like I said, we'll do a presentation to the board.
Any questions, board? I'm excited about the solar.
Panels be placed, Leon? I didn't get that. Where will the panels be placed?
So we looked at different locations. Here, we try to team up both with Southview and the middle school together. It'd be towards the hill over here,
Okay,
which isn't used. At the high school, it would be north of the faculty parking. And then at Parkside, it would be over towards the fence, towards Lion Street by the church there.
Yep.
So it'd be off of the play area. And then I didn't add too, along with that, that we would be doing curriculum also at ages K through 12.
Good. Moving on, our discussion items.
when is that application due?
We're in the process right now of doing it. It's due by May 31st, but we'll get it in prior to that.
Is there any idea when we would hear back?
No. I'll let you guys know when it's been submitted though.
Okay, moving on to our discussion items. First review of policies 901 through 907. Any comments? Any questions?
No major changes in any of these.
Getting our update on our Marshall Career and Technical Institute.
So there's a drawing included in the board agenda item. I think Trisha's got it up on the screen too. Just a preliminary drawing of what we're looking at for the CTE Center. So you guys have been out there and seen the building. What you see on the right-hand side, the classroom space would have two big spaces. One would be the CNA lab. That actually is included in addition to the existing building. And then completely gutting basically the rest and starting over in that part of the building. So it'll be space for all of CNA programming with some storage. They have a lot of equipment. The other classroom would be a flexible space that could meet multiple different like future expansion needs, reception area, laundry space that's part of the CNA, and some office spaces. Then the other side will have actually going to open that all up is kind of where we settled. We've been working with the teachers that'll be part of that program, and I'm excited about the layout we've come up with for there to have everything laid out for welding and for the automotive pieces in there. Ad for the bid will run starting next week on the 28th, March 7th, and March 14th. The project bidding schedule will be available at that time. Pre-bid meeting is scheduled for the 21st of March, and we'll visit the property as part of that. Bids are due on the 31st, and then the recommendation would be presented to the board on the April 11th board meeting for the project. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Just want to add, and we've talked about that before, it'll be basically done in two phases. The automotive and welding will be phase one and hopefully opened up in August. And then phase two would be the CNA in the classroom, which would be for semester 2. That's just with everything going on with material and everything, that's our timeline that we're hoping for.
So we would continue to run CNA at its current location to start the year, and then by mid-year, hopefully move that to the new location.
Exciting.
Been much interest from contractors, Dion?
We're working with ICS again as the contract consultant, and they're contacting local contractors, encouraging them to bid on the project.
Very good. Under action items, approval of resolution relating to the termination of non-renewal of the teaching contracts. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's open for discussion. Hearing no discussion, please vote. It is approved. Thank you, board members. Meeting's over.
Thank you, Jeff.